Yep. Hold on. Sorting things out. Ugh. Alright. Hear me figuring stuff out in the background. There we go. And there we go. Alright, so 17 cars lined up on the grid and ready to go, potentially looking at 2 more. But welcome to the Arabian Peninsula. Of course, there now the ping goes out. God damn it. Yeah, welcome to Qatar for round number 9 of this LSR season. Viperize your band. Yeah, should be a very interesting one. Qatar, of course, very quick track, very difficult to overtake on, and track limits certainly going to provide an impact on this race as we got a V-carb coming out first. Vacant versus Pins. Well, I didn't go bowling yesterday, thankfully. So that was versus Pings, I see. But we are going to be let out by the V-carb of Ollie. So he'll be the first out on track. But yeah, very, very high-speed track. Not a lot of slow-speed corners in this one. So not a lot of good overtaking opportunities. Really, your best one is that run down into turn 1. But really only one corner where you're going to drop below 4th gear. And that's down at turn 6. Actually, we'll go ahead and also put up the tire map so we can see what tire everybody's looking at. To start this one, it's going to be now the Aston Martin of Viperize that's going to be leading the way. But yeah, slowest corner on the circuit is down here at turn, I believe that's that's turn 6. But also not a really great overtaking opportunity. So we'll definitely stay on board with Viperize as we make our way around a lap. But of course, the circuit much more detailed in this year's games. Definitely feels much tighter than it did last year, even if the track layout is ultimately the exact same. But as this weekend is a sprint race, we'll get some extra action today. So sprint qualifying session, a sprint race, a regular qualifying session, and then the full race. But it will be the Aston Martin leading us away. And of course, since it is one session, we'll probably see a mix of tires. But I would expect a lot of medium compound runners. But of course, we will stay on board with Viperize in the Aston Martin. Of course, blasting down into turn 1, highest speed portion of the circuit. Gonna get on the brakes pretty hard down into turn 1, which is the best overtaking opportunity on the circuit, but you only drop down to about 4th gear through turn 1 and turn 2. Really important to make sure you get a good run out of turn 2, though. You got the kink up turn 3, and then the run down into turn 4, which is where we may see battles end up resulting. At this point, you kind of go single file. Be wary of those track limits on the outside. Through the second right-hander of turn 5, and then the slowest corner on the circuit, this left-handed hairpin of turn 6. Again, just trying to focus, make sure you're on the power well in the run down into turn 7. Again, another mid-speed corner here. You want to keep as close to that inside as you can. Got a little chicane here of now 8 and 9 before you run down into turn number 10. And then from here, now you get very high speed, and it's going to be, all downforce from here. You, of course, got that little kink of 11. Then you got 12, which is flat. You got 13, which should be flat. Again, really playing with those track limits on the outside. 13, again, which is flat. 14, we may see some drivers have to take a little bit of a lift here or some engine braking, but you can take that very quickly. And now into the final turn of turn 16. Again, long right-hander. Important to get that exit right. DRS opens rather early on this one, and so Viperize will set the bar. It's 1:23.0 here in the first sprint qualifying. Here comes DeBrock to the line to set a second lap, and it's going to be a 1:23 flat from the McLaren driver. So looking to take the fight to Viperize in these early stages. Strakasaur will be next across the line. He's in the Mercedes for this afternoon. Again, coming down into that final corner now. Gets the exit right. He'll come to the line. It's only going to be a 1:24.3, though, and that's on a soft compound tire as well. So potentially looking to take a couple laps at it. LAS Haas comes across the line. It's a 1:23.8. It's one of the Williams next across the line. That's Boyd Dawson with a 1:23.9. The second Aston Martin of LSR striding to the line. He'll go right behind his teammate of Viperize and into third, followed by the Red Bull of Alcoholic He'll come across the line with a 123.2 on a set of softs. So that'll be good enough to at least split the Aston Martins for the moment. You know, Sayao is on a push lap. He's got Speedy Gunner behind him. So they're coming through the final couple of corners now. They'll both come to the line. Sayao goes 8th fastest. Speedy Gunner, I believe, invalidated at some point. Jump on board. He is going to be pushing this lap, though, so we'll see if his time falls at all. A couple other cars come to the line next. Viperize dives into the pits. That's when I believe that was the other V-Carb car. I believe that was DeChal crossing the line to start that one, so we'll keep an eye out for him. We'll jump on board with that Williams in Sector 3 that seems to be flying. That is Void Dawson, who's up over a quarter of a second through the first 2 sectors of this lap. Again, I think just taking a look, another go at it. You know, seemingly very comfortable through that final sector, and tire wear is certainly going to be a big factor in today's race. Tire's going to wear out very quickly, especially that front left. Here comes Dawson to the line. Only good enough for an extra position. Picks about 2/10 there. He'll jump up into P5. There's an Alpine next to the line just starting a lap. The other Aston Martin of Strading as well just starting a lap. So we'll jump on board to that car. Just looking to cross the lines. Alcoholic Husky looking to get underway. So we'll jump on board with that Haas. It's Rostamol on an out lap. Speedy Gunner has invalidated, so that lap will not stand. So we'll jump to the Kick Sauber of Formula Jonah. Again, just looking to keep momentum going here. But yeah, front left tire wear is going to be a big question here. So medium to soft, not something that we're going to see in this race almost for sure, unless we get a load of safety cars, which is unlikely. Formula Jonah goes 7th fastest. There's another car coming up behind him. That is DeChal going 5th fastest. But yeah, tire wear certainly going to be a major concern. Not as much in the sprint, as we should see everybody on the medium compound of tire for the entirety of that one. Of course, Ollie Jelly looking to get started in that other V-Carb car. LSR Strading, meanwhile, up 3/10 through the early part of his lap. So we'll stay on board with the Aston Martin as he makes his way through the final sector. Should get a little bit of a tow from the Alpine in front of him, who is, I believe, Kendricks, who should give him a little bit of a pull here down the back straight. Strading to the line now. That lap time good enough for 3rd, so we'll jump up to just behind his teammate once again, and in that lap time, faster than Alcoholic. So again, in the sprint qualifying, where you only really have 2 shots, really important to make sure you get your shots right. Speedy Gunner, meanwhile, this one, he's on a push. No time on the board as of yet, so no saying what his delta was at. 118 coming out of the final corner. Of course, power down to the line. Maybe a little bit wide out of the final corner, but still a very comfortable lap time. That'll put him P6 on a set of mediums, 123.519. And ahead of DeChal. DeChal, of course, out of fuel. He's making his way back around, so we'll jump on board with Ollie on a set of softs here, 58.0 through the first 2 sectors. And this lap time looking very quick as he makes his way onto the pit straight. That lap time good enough for provisional pole, 122.361 for Ollie here in sprint qualifying. So that lap time dropping a lot and setting a new bar for everybody to go after. A couple of cars, I think, getting ready to come back out for what should be their second and final pushes of this qualifying session. Kendricks, meanwhile, up a second on his first lap time. 124.4 was his first, potentially a bit more of a warm-up lap. He'll cross the line. He'll jump up into P4, splitting the Aston Martins with a 123.024. So just shy of Viperize and Debo's time. Again, doesn't seem that anybody really on a competitive lap time as it stands. I think a couple of drivers just come bringing their cars around, trying to get back into the pits. 3 minutes left to go in the sprint qualifying session. Here comes Boakes out of the final corner. Of course, still looking to put a lap time on the board. Again, I think taking a shot at a second push lap, but he'll be on the board in 14th. So it's only Griggs now, then, that we're waiting on to get a lap time on the board. Speedy Gunner, meanwhile, out of fuel. His qualifying session is practically over. Ollie's should be over, as should, I would expect, Kendricks's, as he's out of fuel and making his way back around. So So again, doubt we'll see anybody else, any of those drivers improve. But Boakes, I think, making his way down to turn 1. I think this is there was probably a mistake early on in that lap. Because, yeah, this is a very uncompetitive Sector 1. He's down 6.2 seconds. So that lap time, not going to be an improvement. Jim, meanwhile, in the Williams, making his way through, will actually jump on board with the Griggs, and we'll jump back to Jim after this sprint after Griggs finishes his lap. He'll come to the line. Only good enough for 14th, though, but still time to improve. So we'll jump back to Jim, up less than a tenth through the first 2 sectors. And he's actually going to dive into the pits, so his qualifying will be over. Jim going to start no better than 16th place. Boakes, meanwhile, making his way around, just trying to stay out of people's way. And yeah, the Griggs definitely on a push lap, but keeping Ollie is out of the session, so his sprint qualifying session is done. So definitely keep an eye on the likes of Viperize, the likes of Strading, maybe even the likes of Alcoholic, as they look to make their way around for the sprint qualifying session. Alcoholic, of course, is going to have to really hustle that car around, as will all of these drivers just coming out of the pits. They may not have enough time. Strakasaur and Speedy Gun are all looking to come out of the pits, and they've got to yield to drivers just starting push laps, including DeChal, who's going to have to navigate some of this traffic here at Turn 1. So certainly going to be a challenge there, and so that could be multiple qualifyings over in that case. Griggs, meanwhile, has invalidated, so unless he has enough ERS, that's probably his qualifying session over. Striding on an outlap, so we'll jump on board with Viperize, of course, currently sitting P2 on the grid for this sprint, which, of course, will be 10 laps. Pretty comfortable through those first couple of corners. Boakes has retired from the session. He does not believe he will improve, so should be potential traffic there. But Viperize up about a quarter of a second through that first sector, setting a purple time, and no traffic in the foreseeable future for the Aston Martin driver as he makes his way through Sector 2. Jim will not improve from 16th either, as he looks to make his way. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I believe Alcoholic's going to be the only one who gets a lap in, as Jonah actually jumps up into P2. That's a great lap time from him, coming from pretty much out of nowhere. But Viperize up half a second now. He's flying, but he's still got to pick up a little bit more if he wants the sprint pole here in Qatar. And importantly, can his teammate do anything about it? Strading up a quarter of a second through the first 2 sectors. Here comes Viperize around the final quarter line. LAF is third. Viperize, can he do anything about Ollie? No, he cannot. Just short. He'll still improve by a second. He'll jump up into P2. It's VCarb 1 and 3 as DeChal jumped up into third. LAF fourth. Formula Jonah in 5th. Can Strading pull anything out of the bag in the final sector? That red light flashing on the back, meaning he's out of ERS. Strading to the line. He'll jump up into P5, so he'll slot in just ahead of Jonah. So that would leave Alcoholic Husk, who has lost that lap time due to track limits, and Void Dawson, who's about a second down. So Ollie Jelly takes sprint pole from Viperize. DeChal will start third, followed by LAF Strading, Formula Jonah, Debo, and Kendricks will round out your starters for the point scoring positions. But yeah, a bunch of drivers just leaving it too late to get out on track, and then just having to yield to drivers on push laps meant that they could not get lap times in. So nothing really coming to it there. And so we'll have to see that battle between Viperize, Ollie, and DeChal, because, you know, those front 5 separated by about 4/10, so it should be a very tight battle in this one. You have to keep an eye on the likes of Kendricks and, you know, the like to have some solid battles in there as well. Just cross the line, please. You're just wasting time at this point. All right. All right, well, so it is Ollie on pole by less than a tenth over Viperize, so that battle should be very, very interesting. Oh, whoops. There we go. Accidentally pulled up Race Director. But yeah, points for the top 8 in sprint quality, and of course, top 8 separated by only about 6/10. So should provide one very interesting session. And we'll get underway just shortly here. But yeah, 10 laps. Again, likely going to see medium tires throughout the whole grid. I would be shocked if we see softs or hards. You can definitely take a soft set for about 10 laps if you pay very close attention to it. But you know, going to be very, very close in this one. So again, I would expect mediums across the grid in this one. Of course, it is going to be a little bit warmer as it is, afternoon for the sprint, as is standard in-game. But again, should provide an interesting one. Tire temps not going to be as big of a problem around this one. Again, it's just more that tire wear, specifically that front left tire, which is going to wear at a ratio of about 3-to-1, depending on setup, compared to all of the other tires on the car. So that's going to be something that our drivers are definitely going to have to manage. And again, that's largely due to a lot of fast right-handers, especially in that third sector, because not only are they just a load of fast right-handers back-to-back, the other thing to consider for these drivers is how much curb to take, as Ollie will lead us away. But we'll have to wait and see on that front. But again, those mediums do start to really fall away once you do hit lap 10. As Speedy Gunner and the Griggs come together, so they've been DSQ'd from the formation lap. That's not from the actual race. So a bit of a jump start there from them. So we'll stay on board with the current leader of Ollie, and we'll take a look at tires as well, just to be sure. But yeah, it's mediums all across the grid, which is certainly to be expected, and it's all fresh mediums, as to be expected. But this will certainly be a very good test of pace. Fuel management, not as big a concern as years past in Qatar. That'll definitely be interesting to see if driving styles do change that. I know yesterday for Group 1, even despite not having a safety car, there were no fuel concerns. And again, I would expect that we should see very few, if any, safety cars in today's race, just due to how wide the track as a whole is. Of course, and by that I mean less in terms of the racing surface itself and more in terms of the amount of runoff that is available to our drivers. There's a lot of gravel. And a decent number of safety mechanisms, but of course we're coming up here to the final corner. Viperize will actually be teleported to the grid as well, so potentially some contact with another driver there as he was checking up. His AI hit me. So I know we do have a rule as well where you're not allowed to be an AI for tire warming. So I think that's, again, something that drivers should make note of, is that if you are going to go into AI mode, like if you're going to do it to put something in chat regarding something, then that's great, but you shouldn't be spending the entirety of a safety car formation lap under AI. But the grid is forming up now. Again, just waiting for the last couple of drivers to get formed up here. And we should be ready to go. Of course, DRS does get disabled, and it's a very aggressive point to the inside for our pole sitter. 3, 4, and 5 lights. And we're underway for the Qatar sprint. Good to get away from the leader. He'll immediately move over and cover off Viperize. But it's a good jump for the top 2. They're spread out behind Viperize, looking inside into turn 1. But Ollie going to carry some good pace around the outside there and hold that field fairly comfortable through the first couple of corners. Viperize dropping back a little bit, and again, that pack really scrambling behind. You saw Debo get a little bit loose there on the inside. And again, run down into turn 4 now. And it's still Ollie with the lead. Formula Jonah and Debo battling side by side as they continue. I think Debo going to hold on to that one around the outside. And then we get down into turn number 5 and 6. I'll hide the UI real quick so you can see everybody. Williams goes into the back of a Red Bull there. I believe that was Jim and Speedy coming together. So potentially some front wing damage on the Williams. But again, it's pretty much like we started. I believe Stratting gained a position or two there. He's up into 4th now and looking to go support his teammate. But early on in this one, looking like Aston Martin versus V-Carb here in the sprint. And of course, no DRS effectively for the first 2 laps. There's only 1 DRS zone on the circuit. 6/10 though, the gap between Viperize and Jelly. And the entire field, all the way down to Rostamol, all in one big train. So, I'd expect a lot of close racing in this one. But coming in through the final corner for the first time, the gap sits at half a second between Ollie and Viperize. And Ollie immediately going to move to break the toe. And it seems that a lot less downforce or maybe more ERS usage on the leading V-Carb. And you can see that big train down into turn 1. Ollie, though, going to hold it with about half a second advantage. Of course, DRS will now be enabled. So, going to get some overtaking aids here as we make our way into lap number 2. But still Ollie in the lead. Kendricks still kind of rounds out your points and your point scoring positions. I believe all remain the same, though the order may be slightly different. We'll check that in a few moments. But again, Ollie leads fairly comfortably. Formula Jonah and Debo continue to go side by side. Jonah looking up the inside, but Debo, I think, going to use that exit there to take advantage. Kendrick's now looking for a move down the inside of Jonah. Can Jonah now utilize the wider angle and get that exit? Yes, he will. So, again, a bunch of tight battles here, but will this start to break up the pack a little bit? Of course, Kendricks is there, Strakasaur is there, Alcoholic is there. But it's an 8/10 advantage now for Ollie here on lap number 2. Just looking to continue to try and pull away, up to 9/10 and growing. So how brave is he going to be through this final corner? It's going to be tight, but I think Viperize is going to hold on to DRS range here, which he should, but the front 3 starting to make a bit of a breakaway from our Stratting. That gap sitting at 1.1 seconds from Dechal back to Stratting. Ollie Jelly sets a fast lap of the sprint, which shouldn't matter, but DRS for Viperize means he should stay comfortably in touch. Formula Jonah, meanwhile, getting the overtake done on Debo with DRS's assistance, so the Kick Sauber will now lead that pack. Stratting overtaken by LAF as well as they run into turn 1, so the battle for 4th continuing to become a factor. Again, big scramble through those first couple of corners as Kendrick's looking to, I think, find a way past. Strakasaur's going to be coming up on him very quickly, though. So Kendrick's going to have to try and balance attacking the McLaren in front of him and defending from that Mercedes and Red Bull and Williams all behind him. A little bit of a lockup there from Alcoholic. Yeah, that pack quickly become, 3-man breakaway here up at the front in the early stages of this sprint. Again, lap number 3, only 10 laps in this sprint race. And Ollie showing some serious pace, potentially a mistake there from Viperize, as not a great exit from him, so that gap approaching a second. Alcoholic finds a way past Strakasaur, but that gap sitting at around a second, so I think Ollie trying to find that breakaway. We've seen him pull away a little bit through this twisty section, and as they come across the DRS zone, again, a little bit wide there from Ollie, so don't know if he got a track limits warning there, but that gap opened up to 1.2 seconds, so Viperize will no longer have the assistance of DRS, so he's going to have to utilize a little bit more ERS if he wants to try and keep Dechal behind, who is, of course, charging with that rear wing open. Stratting in the top of your screen there gets the move done. He'll slide up into 4th, and Viperize, meanwhile, will still hold on to 2nd at lap number 4. Debo, meanwhile, finds a way around Jonah. He'll go around the outside, which means he'll have the inside now as we run into turn number 2. Kendrick's looking to make a move on Jonah as well, but again, Jonah looking to carry that speed around the outside, but a good block there from Debo. There comes Jonah around the outside as they run down now into turn 4. They'll remain side by side as they make their way through into turn 5. Jonah still there. Here they come down to turn 6. Kendrick still looking to get something done. Can Formula Jonah sneak it up the inside, or will Debo hold him on exit? A little bit of a twitch there from the McLaren, and by the time they get to turn number 6, it's Formula Jonah by a length moving up into P6. Yeah, meanwhile, up at the front, it's Ollie continuing to pull away. Rostamol, meanwhile, our first recipient of a 3-second time penalty. We'll take a second now. We'll jump back to this battle for 6. That's going to be the tightest battle between multiple cars on track. We'll take a look at some of the position changes. But yeah, not much throughout the grid. Speedy Gunner, of course, the biggest gainer. He's gained 3 spots. And then the only other swap is LSR Stratting and LAF, who have both swapped positions. Otherwise, the pack has remained pretty much exactly the same. Kendrick's here looking around the outside into the final corner. Going to run a little bit wide there, but could get him on the exit, depending on how much straight line speed is on that Alpine. He's looking to get 2 in one go, actually. Kendricks is going to take the lead of this pack. Jonah, I think, going to fall to the back since he doesn't have DRS. He'll drop all the way into 9th. Kendricks takes advantage. Here comes Alcoholic looking to get this move done on Kendricks. He's going to have the inside for turn 2. He'll get that done. Will Kendricks find the switchback here? No, he will not. So Alcoholic takes the lead of this pack. Fernando Jonah now falls back out of the points. He'll continue to battle with Debo side by side again, though. This time it'll be Debo that comes out with the advantage. And so that should be the pack for the next lap or so. But Alcoholic finding his way up into the points now. Lap number 5, so still a lot of chances left for overtaking moves to get done. You know, up front, Ollie Jelly continues to make ground. That gap now up to 1.8 seconds, and Dechaul continuing to put pressure here on Viperize, as they're only separated by about 0.3. Battle for P4 is raging as well between Stratting and LAF. But Dechaul really tight on the back end of that Aston Martin. I think looking to make it a V-Carb 1-2. Of course, he'll have DRS assistance here. How much ERS is Viperize willing to burn? He'll defend to the inside. He'll kind of start to squeeze that V-Carb back to the outside. Rostamo with a penalty, but Dechaul able to comfortably get out in front by the time they hit the braking zone. Meanwhile, behind, Stratting able to hold off LAF for the moment. Kendricks, meanwhile, able to overtake Alcoholic. There's Debo looking up the inside of the Red Bull driver, but Alcoholic able to defend for the moment, so puts Kendricks up into P6. So now we'll see if he can take advantage of the clean air and start to pull away. Viperize, though, meanwhile, looking to make a move back on Dechaul. Going to try to make the outside move work here through turn number 6. Going to have the inside here as they make their way into 7. Forces that V-Carb a little bit wide and is able to slide that Aston Martin back out in front. So Viperize, again, very fighty here. I think just looking to hold on to P2, but this has brought his teammate of Stratting into it, as well as it has brought LAF into the fight. Sayao and Dawson swap places as they pull onto that train for 6th place. And again, top 8 receive points in this one, so something important to consider. Again, lap number 6, and Ollie Jelly continuing to pull away. That gap 3 seconds. So once you get into that clean air, you can really start to pull away, especially if you have that extra bit of downforce. Debo has actually left the session, so he is disconnected. I do not have added, but he dropped down to the 10th before disconnecting. So that'll certainly be unfortunate for him. Dechaul, meanwhile, actually Stratting, going to go down the inside of both Dechaul and his teammate, and he'll get that move done. That came a bit out of nowhere, and it'll allow Viperize to sneak back down the inside as they go into turn 2. But yes, just missed that. But Stratting, very opportunistic move, and now it's an Aston Martin 2-3 as opposed to a V-Carb 1-2. Was just jumping back to watch that battle for P6 when 1 for P2 was continuing to rage. Of course, through turn 6 now, it's Stratting leading this pack again. It'll be 3 laps to go next time we cross the line. So it'll be interesting to see some of these strategy choices, especially from these two teammates together. Alcoholic and Speedy Gunner, could we see some teamwork from them as well? Though the battle for P6 seemed to have started to separate itself for that battle for the final point scoring position of P8. Strakasaur receives a 3-second time penalty for track limits. So potentially tire wear now starting to become a factor. Of course, Dechaul now all over the back of Viperize. Once again, we've seen this a couple of times, but unlike in past instances, both drivers will now have DRS assistance. So what role will Stratting play into this battle? LAF, of course, still there in the wings. He also has DRS back there in P5, but rear wing open on both the Aston Martin and the V-Carb. Dechaul, I think, comfortable holding off just for the moment as they run into T1. The order remained the same. Kendricks, meanwhile, overtaking Alcoholic. He'll jump up into P6 on track, picking up an extra point as it stands. But again, 3 laps to go. So what will the strategy calls be here for each of the drivers? Of course, yesterday in the sprint, which of course wasn't on board as Speedy Gunner was feeling a little bit under the weather. Definitely had some interesting strategy calls in the battle for, I believe it was P4 in the sprint, because the P4 to P6 was decided very, very late, but was a very interesting one if you haven't gone and seen that. But yeah, 3.2 seconds the gap up at the front, so unless Ali gets a penalty, he should have this one locked down. Again, the pack's starting to spread out a little bit, so I think drivers trying to take tire wear into concern here. Just try and hold on to whatever tires they have left. But again, coming through that third sector now. Again, how much curb do you want to take throughout this race? And especially this could be a test for the eventual feature race, as here comes Stratting out the final corner. So it'll be 2 laps to go now as we cross the line. Ollie, again, 3-second advantage, so Stratting keeping touch. And again, a bit quicker in a straight line. Viper is, I think, comfortable just holding station for right now, as is DeChal. But just both drivers able to tow each other along nicely. Alcoholic finds a way past Kendricks now with 2 to go. So, what are the strategy calls? Speedy Gunner and Jonah and Sayao as well in that battle for the final point scoring position. So definitely going to be interesting to see what the end result is there. But coming through turn 5 and into turn 6 now, it's dropped back to a 3-car fight between Stratting, Viperize, and DeChal. So we could be looking at an Aston Martin versus V-car battle throughout the entirety of this race round Qatar. And that'll definitely be an interesting one to witness. But 2.7 seconds the gap, so Stratting potentially the driver with the most pace, so that's something to consider as well, is how much will tire wear be a factor for Ollie? I don't have Debo added, so we're going to be doing that once we get to the qualifying session. But it will be the start of the final lap now. It's Ollie Jelly by 2.7 seconds, but I think it's going to be attacked. Speedy Gunner, 3-second time penalty for track limits, so that's going to get rid of his chance at any points. But here they come down the pit straight for the final time, and Viperize and Stratting able to defend comfortably from DeChal, so those places will all remain the same. Kendricks, meanwhile, looking to get a move done on Alcoholic. He'll get that done into turn 1, so Kendricks, I think, looking to just pick up that extra point. Meanwhile, towards the back, Speedy Gunner, I think at this point, just trying to hold on to it, hold on to 8th place, more to, maybe try and force a mistake from Jonah or Sayao. Here comes Jonah, though, taking a peek down the inside. He won't take it, though. But the sprint should be effectively over here, as Ollie Jelly was able to pull that gap away from Viperize in the early stages. Jonah and Speedy going to go side by side here on the exit from turn 6. Jonah looking outside. He'll have the inside for turn 8. Gonna try and hold on to it as they'll remain side by side despite that battle being over. That's going to open the door for Sayao. But has been a comfortable race for Ollie Jelly as he comes through the final 2 corners now. A little bit wide there, potentially flirting with those track limits. But it'll be max points for the V-Carb driver who started on pole position. It's going to be Ollie Jelly taking the sprint win. It's a big mistake, though, from his teammate behind, so that could promote LAF. Stratting in second, Viperize third, so a double podium for Aston Martin. DeChal will end up finishing 4th, followed by LAF. So there's going to be a run to the line between Kendricks and Alcoholic, and it's going to be Kendricks by less than a 10th. And then to round out the points, it will be Formula Jonah, Sayao then 9th, Speedy just going ahead and having a spin out there as he comes to the line, followed by Griggs. Debo's, who is an AI, will be sure to get him back in before the start of the next session. Rostamol, Stracco, and then Jim and Bopes will round out your finishers. But yeah, should be a very interesting one as we move into the feature race. Ollie's pace did start to fall off a little bit there towards the end, so we'll definitely keep an eye on that one. We'll have to see there. Stratting, of course, is driver of the day. Yeah, the mediums were gone. They do really start to go right around lap 10. But Stratting, very nice finishing position. And, of course, there are your points. And there are your results and time gaps from the sprint, just in case we have anything to be reviewed. But 2 drivers with 3 seconds of time penalties. Stratting, that was a very nice move into turn 1. Sadly, I did miss it. Stratting, also, if you're listening, can you invite Devo Croc back? Actually, wait, no, hold on. I think I might be able to. View profile. There we go. Forgot about that. I didn't think he was PlayStation, so. But we'll now move into the feature race qualifying session. I will go ahead and invite Husky as well. Sorry, I will invite other Husky. Husky Gaming, not the alcoholic one. See if we can get him in. Okay, so it does look like we are good. I think. Yeah, time is winding down, which means we'll move into the feature race qualifying. Of course, it will be a single session today. And again, just waiting to see if there will be any adjustments. And we could see a different pole sitter in this one for sure. Of course, pole was a very tight fight between Viper Eyes and Ollie. So let's see what happens. And if you'll excuse me, I do have to go to the bathroom quickly. So I shall return. I will leave you, though, with the Aston Martin of Viper Eyes. There we go. I'll leave you with the Aston Martin of Viper Eyes for a second. Alright. I am here. But yeah, no laps set as right now, so we'll stay on board with Viper Eyes. But again, Viper Eyes, who we saw just miss out on that pole position. Don't you put work? Yeah. It's the stone, it's the, was it the glass shatters, and, yeah. Husky's out of power, unfortunately. So, downside there from him, but Viper Eyes will lead us away. I'll actually also put on tire and lap data. That'd probably be good. But here comes Viper Eyes. Again, working his way through that first sector. There is also a Red Bull behind him. Not sure whether that's Speedy or Viper Eyes. But again, making his way here through the middle sector. Again, 57.8 through the first two portions of the circuit. 58.4 for Alcoholic, though, so Viper Eyes up by over 0.6 through those first two sectors against the Red Bull. But here he comes now through the final corner. So Debo does appear to be back, which is good. But Viper Eyes to the line to set the bar here in proper qualifying, and it's a 1:22.2 from Viper Eyes, 1:22.8 from Alcoholic. So two quick lap times to start us off. Of course, we saw sprint pole was, I believe, a 1:22.6. LAF across the line, 23.0. Ollie pushes that bar a little bit lower to 1:22.2. Actually, yeah, it was 1:22.3, I believe, was the pole for sprint quali. And Ollie just about ahead of Viper Eyes. Speedy Gunner, 1:23.0, as is the Griggs, as they cross the line. As the first couple of lap times pop up on that timetable. So here comes Strachosaur, and I believe in either Jim or Dawson. Through the final couple of corners, Strachosaur to the line. That lap time good enough for only for 7th at 1:24.1. Jim sets a 1:24.0. It's the McLaren of Debo still getting that lap set to start this one off. Here comes Stratting to the line. Actually, he's just starting a lap as well, so we'll jump on board with Dawson. As he comes to line, 1:23.0, good enough for P7. And just ahead of... Actually, no, comfortably ahead of his teammate. I thought it was another 1:24. The other half of Rostamol just getting underway, as is Formula Jonah. So yeah, we do have a couple of cars just making their way around. Husky Gaming has joined, so we have driver number 18 who will be here for the feature race. So it'll definitely be interesting to see his pace throughout this one. Jump on board with Speedy Gunner, see if he is on... Actually, no, it's Ollie Jelly. Apologies. Speedy Gunner has invalidated, so he will not improve. Strachosaur, meanwhile, making his way round a lap. Power does seem to be... additional power does seem to be off, so potentially just an in-lap from him after invalidating on a first go. Stratting, meanwhile, 58.1 through the first two sectors. I believe his teammate, if I'm not mistaken, was a 57.8. So about 3/10 down as it stands. Certainly would be good enough for provisional P3. With about a 1:22.5, 1:22.6 potentially in the works for the other Aston Martin driver. Here he comes out of the final corner, though, and to the line. Again, we saw a lot of top speed in this Aston Martin, and that lap time is good enough for third, a 1:22.853, so only just ahead of the two Red Bulls, but certainly comfortable enough. Void Dawson, I believe, just slotted that Williams into P8. No, he just didn't improve there. We'll jump to Formula Jonah, who did come away from that sprint with a point. Coming out of the final corner now, and on the drive to the line, Formula Jonah, where will he slot in? He'll slot in into fifth, so we'll split the Red Bulls. Beats out Speedy by about 0.03 of a second. So very tight for the LSR founder and part owner. Of course, I only say part as there are more than one. Speedy Gunner about 3/10 down, working his way through the end of the lap, and now he'll just dive into the pit lane here. And that'll be the end of his first stint. Strachosaur, meanwhile, a bit under a 10th down now at this point. Husky has joined as well, so 11 minutes left to go, so that should give him enough time for 2 laps. But here comes Strachosaur through the end of the lap. Again, keeping it very tight, not flirting with the track limits much on that outside there. A little bit of a lock-up as he comes through the final corner. But he'll actually dive into the pits, not thinking he'll improve. And again, that limiter line is actually surprisingly tricky here around Qatar. So we could certainly see a couple of penalties due to some semblance of pit lane speeding, just because the actual limiter line is just slightly after a small crest on that pit lane entry. So definitely something to keep in mind there. Stratting, working from behind Boakes right now. Again, using a used set of soft compound tires. Coming up at the end of Sector 1, he is down 0.2 though, so I think those softs, really you can only get, if you do want to use them for multiple laps, or if you don't think your tires are in the right window, you really can't do more than 2 laps with them before they, I think, really start to lose their grip. Because after you get to lap 3, those softs are going to be up to about 12% tire wear on that front lap, just because of how hard you are pushing that car through that middle sector. LAF, of course, on an out lap, so we'll keep an eye on him. Stratting actually put in a very respectable Sector 2. So definitely a personal best, but about matching that first time. And I think just trying to get an extra lap under his belt at this point. Here he comes through the final couple of corners, though. Again, under the Qatari lights. Out of the final corner and to the line now. Where does the Aston Martin slide in? Does he improve at all? He'll actually gain 0.2 there, which is very good on a used set of soft compound tires. So 0.4 back of his teammate and Ollie. So definitely be interesting to see how that improves. Going to go out on used again. Probs won't improve, but practice. So Viperize, I think, planning to not improve much from there. He's comfortable in a P2. We'll definitely keep an eye on Dachal, as I believe he looks to set his first lap of qualifying. LAF, meanwhile, just about matching his first sector time, so we'll stay on board with Haas as he makes his way around the circuit. Again, blasting out of, I believe it's turn number 10 there, and into that second sector timing marker. Up about a tenth. So LAF running comfortably, and just a tenth would be enough to bump him all the way up into P5. And if he can manage to find another one, potentially up into that top 4 contention. There he comes now into that final corner. Again, that just fast right-hander. Of course, with Qatar designed as a MotoGP circuit, going to be very fast, very flowing. LAF to the line. Where will he slide in? He will slide up all the way into 4th by a, 14 thousandths of a second over Alcoholics. So the Haas of LAF having a very nice qualifying session. Mercedes of Strakasaur, I believe, just starting a lap as well. There's an Aston Martin of Viper of Stratton just diving into the pits in the background. Here comes DeChal out of the final corner. Of course, looking to join his teammate up in the top split, and he'll split the Aston Martins as it stands. It's 122.538 from the V-Carb of DeChal. So again, looking at another potential Aston Martin versus V-Carb battle here. Visa Cash App Red Bull, of course. So that should be proved to be a very interesting watch. Here comes Debo now, out of the final corner, looking to set his first lap of qualifying. He'll come to the line. It's a 123.2, so that's enough for 11th. Striding saying a lot of time in his lap. Did a 22.0 yesterday. Of course, in Group 1, here comes Chris Husky, our late entry, getting started with his first lap. Yeah, definitely a lot of room for that time to fall. Running with 8 laps of fuel due to a double run. But yeah, definitely going to be interesting to see Ollie and Stratting. I think both thinking that they will improve on their lap. So will it come down to the drivers who finished 1-2 in the sprint here on their final runs? Husky, meanwhile, has invalidated that first lap. He's actually going to slow all the way down. Rostamol on a lap as well. McLaren of Boaks, I believe, is out of fuel, so he should be, I believe he'll be working his way around. Yeah, Viper Eyes here, I think, comfortable where he's at. Doesn't believe he'll fall too much, and at least wants to get some extra laps in. But he'll dive into the pits very quickly now. Only had about a lap left of fuel in the tank, but he currently still sits P2. DeChal will dive in, as will Alcoholic, who currently sits in 3rd. We do have an Alpine coming out as of right now. That is Sayao making his way out the pits. There's one McLaren diving in the pits. I assume the other will as well. But I believe that should leave us with just one car out on track. Seems a bit twitchy. Let me check what that was. Viper Eyes has disconnected, so that's not good. One sec. I'm trying to get Viper Eyes back. Again, hopefully we can get him back in rather quickly here. But again, a bunch of drivers just diving into the pits. Only 2 cars out on track for the moment. It's currently Sayao and Rostamol. Okay, I thought I lost audio for a second. Okay, why don't I have audio from this? Okay, there's the audio. I was concerned there for a second. I thought I'd completely lost audio. But yeah, only 2 cars out on track at the moment. There's another 2 coming out of the pits, but Rostamol on a lap. About 3/4 of a second down, though. It's a pretty big mistake there through turn 1. I think just trying to get that car into the right window. But it is Jim and Kendricks making their way out. So Sayao going to have to manage those 2 drivers. Of course, in his debut race here in LSR, in the Alpine. Making his way now through Sector 1. Again, going to be looking to make an improvement here. About 1.2 seconds off of that top 10. So potentially just a not super competitive first go of things for the Group 2 reserve driver. Again, making his way through that first part of the racetrack. Up about 2/10. His teammate will, of course, get out of his way. Good little run through there, but he's going to run a bit wide and invalidate there. Again, really trying to use all the track there. Game used my tires that I didn't touch. What the fuck? You weren't out on circuits. That is certainly odd. Though it may have also been a been an instance of the game returning tires from the sprint. May have been something. I'm not entirely sure. I don't know if it says returned or used. And hopefully that doesn't screw you over too much. Dachal making his way out the pits. Yeah, Seiya was slightly up. He will get another run at it from the look of things. Enough fuel, certainly, to have a go with things. So the Alpine going to look to continue to improve. Going to have to manage a little bit more traffic this time. But the V-Carb, of course, will dive out of the way. Jim, meanwhile, making his way through the first sector out ahead as well. Kendricks, as well, has started his lap. Of course, no lap time yet on the board for him. We'll stay on the board with Jim for the moment as he makes his way through Sector 1. Of course, the Swede, who has been in LSR for quite a while, coming across that Sector 1 timing marker, up about 0.3 on his first lap time. Of course, that purple more for a personal improvement, but gets a little bit loose there out of the exit of Turn 6. Very easy to spin up those tires a little bit too much, especially if you're used to all the other corners being much higher geared and getting a little bit less of a spool up time. But Jim now making his way across the Sector 2 timing marker. Did lose a little bit more time there, so he's only up 0.1, so that slide potentially cost him a lot more time than he thought. Seiya, meanwhile, up 0.7, but he invalidated as well, so that's probably his qualifying over. He will likely not improve from P14 on the grid at best. So definitely a big loss from him. Jim, though, coming around the final corner into the line, does it comfortably. But power down, of course, Jim to the line. Only good enough for an improvement, but only will stay P13. Seiya, meanwhile, will come to the line. He backed off there, so he was down a second. And that's probably his qualifying session over. So he would have been out of fuel. Kendricks, meanwhile, pretty respectable lap time, but only 14th. Does seem to still have plenty of ERS in the tank and is going to be using the last of his fuel on this one. Boy, Dawson up 0.3. The Griggs, meanwhile, down half a second on his lap. Viperize and Dachal on push laps. Awesome Gumball, of course, saying with some fighting words that he would be much further up in this one, which, of course, you would certainly believe after showing last one out. G1 was a bit hellish. Yeah, I think that was largely due to a couple of mistakes by drivers that just put them far enough out. So hopefully drivers are well behaved in this one. But a couple other drivers first coming to the line. Boyd Dawson jumps up into P5 with a very comfortable lap time as a number of drivers behind him all looking to get laps started, including Husky, Formula Jonah, I believe LAF in there, Debo all getting laps started. Dachal, meanwhile, up about 1.5. Viperize down 0.3 through 2 sectors. So we'll see if he kept anything in the tank for a final go of things. Ollie, as well, has started a lap. So all the provisional poles sit. All the drivers fighting for pole out on lap. Seiya around the final corner into the line. He'll only improve by 1.5 as he actually runs out of fuel towards the end there. Kendricks as well will come to line. He'll jump up into 5th. Dachal, meanwhile, goes provisional pole. It's a 1:22.0 from him. So can anybody do anything about that? Ollie Jelly down slightly through the first sector. Viperize, not enough to improve, down about 3.5. Viperize, half a second through the first sector. So Aston Martin looking to put a fight to pole. We'll jump up to the front of this pack. LAF up 0.6, so he's looking very quick. Can he pull out any magic in the final sector? It's Boakes behind him. So we'll stay on board with LAF, making his way now through the final portion of this racetrack. We'll jump up to Ollie and Viperize and get a quick update on their times in just a second. But here comes LAF out the final corner here. Did he pick up anything in that final sector? It's good enough for P2, but it's going to be just short as he's our first finisher of the qualifying session. Boakes, 14th. Husky invalidated. He'll be 18th. Formula Jonah to the line next. He will not improve. He'll start no better than 9th. It's one of the Williams avoid Dawson next to the line. He'll start no better than 7th, followed by the Aston Martin of Stratting. He'll go 5th. Viperize has not improved. Ollie Jelly about a 10th, but he failed to improve. He's 3rd. LAF is 2nd. Can Kendricks do anything? He's not improving. Alcoholic is not improving. He's invalidated. Debo, meanwhile, coming through the final couple of corners. And so I think it looks like it should be DeChal on pole, unless any of these other drivers can pull out some magic in the final couple of corners. Here comes Debo out the final corner into the line. DRS open. I believe it's Strakasaur jumping up into 6th. Debo going to jump up into 11th. But that should be, I believe, the end of qualifying. Sayal, of course, making his way around the circuit. Alcoholic not improving. Kendricks not improving. So DeChal takes pole. LAF in P2, followed by Ollie, and then the two Aston Martins of Viperize and Stratting. Strakasaur speeding under Kendricks, Dawson, and Alcoholic round out your top 10. So, of course, we will be delayed a quick second as everybody makes their way back around circuit. And I think we will start penalties for wasting people's time at this point. But it will be 18 drivers on the grid. Definitely keep an eye on the likes of Husky, the likes of Formula Jonah, though, as drivers who could come through in the latter stages. And of course, Viperize and Stratting still certainly in the fight, as well as many others. But I got any predictions for which of the 18 drivers will come out on top? Definitely would be interesting to see. But number of drivers in it. Top 7 separated by half a second. And you got to go down all the way to P13 to get separated by more than 1 second. So should provide some very interesting racing. And just waiting on Seau's car to be pulled into the pits. And then we'll move on to the feature race. Again, I wouldn't expect too many safety cars in this one. I would expect we should see lots of green flag action, just based on yesterday as we jump on board with Stratting. But yeah, again, it's DeChal by over a 10th over the rest of the field, but very, very tight. All the way back to Griggs. Should have a decent shot in this one, especially if that DRS can hold. Nothing to keep an eye on the legs of Husky back there, especially coming from a bit further back to have a chance at points. But of course, very difficult circuit to overtake on. So that starting position going to be very, very important, as is staying within DRS range of those drivers in front. Tire wear, again, going to be a big concern. We saw how Ollie's tires apparently started to fall off towards the end of that sprint, as there was a pretty comfortable, what appeared to be a good bit of struggle on those tires. We saw that time with Stratting coming down a lot. Going to be tight with the race start in Coda. It should be about a 45-minute race, Viperize, so we should be all right because that race should get underway at, I believe, 2 p.m. Actually, because that race should be getting underway at 2 p.m. local, at least. Feature race. Formula 1 events. Yeah, because it should be, obviously it depends on if we get any safety cars. But I think we should be okay. But yeah, race starts at 2 p.m. Local, and I'm in the same time zone. So long as we get underway cleanly, we should still have about 15 minutes for people to make that transition. So we should be comfortably okay, so long as everybody gets their setup going. Yeah, let's be real, we missed the memes. But everybody is set on strategy. So we'll get underway with the formation lap, and it'll be a different V-carb leading the way this time, as a number of drivers start to pull away. But we saw Ollie battle Viperize down in turn 1 on lap number 1. So it'll be interesting to see what DeChal's strategy is this time. Ollie very slow to get away, and actually good chance now as well to take a look at some of the tire strategy. So it's mediums for pretty much the entire grid here. As pretty much all the drivers, as there is your projected race strategies, by the way. Medium to hard, that one stop, gonna likely be the answer for everybody on the grid here. Number of drivers running wide out there in the background, so certainly Odd to see. Yeah, medium to hard, hard to medium is going to be the play. The question is, how well can our drivers hold on to these tires throughout this race? Again, only 2 drivers opting for hards, and that's the Mercedes of Strakasaur sitting in P6, and the Haas of Rostamol back there in P14. Of course, that undercut has been pretty strong in games past, but especially if you want to play the game, the gambit on using that higher tire wear to get a later overcut there and potentially be that chase car at the end. That could prove very, very advantageous in this one. Again, coming to the final couple of corners now, so it'll definitely be interesting to see what the strategy is from the legs of Dachal and LAF as they get lined up. We saw how aggressively Ollie was pointed to the inside there. But yeah, all the drivers, again, looking to get their cars set up. We'll jump on board with Dachal as he continues to weave that car. Looking to get it parked and ready to go. And he'll line up about straight on here, but a little bit shaded to the inside. Viperize does not park up correctly. LAF, Ollie, Jelly, all pretty much parked straight up. Again, number of DSQs there. Speedy Gunner is somehow not. I don't know how Speedy Gunner isn't moved back there. Alcoholic as well. Again, just waiting on the last couple of drivers to get set, and then we should get underway. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 lights. Drive-through penalty for Viperize for jumping the start, but we are underway. Viperize, of course, will jump up to take the lead, but behind him, bit of a spread pack. And so they'll shuffle. It's a good getaway from Dachal as he'll lead LAF. Ollie Jelly looking around the outside. A little bit of contact there wheel to wheel. But who's going to come out in front? It's going to be Ollie Jelly as they make their way into turn number 2. Kendricks gets Alcoholic, moves up into P7, from the join up into 9th. Husky Gaming already all the way up into P12. So really good start there from him. But of course, Viperize, big penalty there with the drive-through. So, of course, I think he's going to try to stretch this, let this pack stretch out a little bit before he makes that move back. But T'Challa, of course, going to be right there on his tail. Of course, Viperize is going to have that advantage of kind of working. The Griggs missed it, and Void Dawson there in the background coming together. So they're off track, but they'll, of course, will both recover, but pretty well off the back of that field. But T'Challa continues to lead here effectively on lap number 1 after the jump start from Viperize. So we'll come to the end of lap 1. It's a 7/10 advantage for Viperize. LAF currently still sits 4th. Strakasaur is still holding on to 6th. And at the end of lap 1, there's a Red Bull a bit loose there in the background. I believe that was Speedy Gunner getting very loose coming out of the final corner. Almost checked up into the back of Husky Gaming, who I think is going to be looking to have a move. There's a Williams taking a peek to the inside as well. Of course, without DRS, going to be very much harder to do. Formula Jonah looking around the outside of Alcoholic here as they make their way into turn 2. Not going to have anything done though. Of course, as we start lap number 2. So that drive-through probably going to result in a rather severe penalty. We're probably looking at about 15 to 17 seconds worth of that penalty for Viperize, depending on how quickly you get that car stopped. Maybe even up to 18 seconds by the time you take into account just how long that pit lane is, considering how high speed that section of track is. So he, of course, will be looking to have a big recovery drive, so we'll definitely keep an eye on him throughout this one. Of course, DRS is activated this lap. And Viperize, of course, has until lap 3 to the end of lap 3. So if we hit lap 4, Viperize will, of course, be disqualified from this one. So what will the choice be for the Aston Martin? Will we see him pull to the right here? We will see Viperize pull to the right, serve that drive-through penalty. We'll definitely keep an eye on. We'll actually throw the leader graphic on there real quick. We'll throw that interval. Tire leader, to see where he comes out. But of course, it is going to be a long trundle down the pit lane. It does leave the V-Carbs 1-2 though, but does put it on Stratting now to potentially go and try to get some points. Yeah, big loss here. It's going to be more than 17 seconds. By the time he comes out, let's see what that gap is. It's going to be, I think, closer to 20 at this point. Yeah, about 21 second penalty there. So definitely would expect that a pit stop then going to be about a 24-second time loss. So definitely keep that gap in mind as we continue throughout this race. Ollie, meanwhile, actually overtook Dichal there. So he now has the lead. Dichal now going to have to defend, though. So while you were checking that out, missed that overtake. But now it is Ollie in the lead. LAF, though, defending from Stratting. And Ollie given another chance to start to pull away. But again, we saw how Ollie's tires seem to fall off around lap 10. So keep that lap number in mind as we continue through the first stint of the race here. But it's 1.3 seconds the gap out in front. LAF likely receiving his first track limits penalty there. Or track limits warning, I should say. Maybe a second there as well, as lots of understeer for LAF. So is heavy fuel a concern on that Haas? He's going to go to the outside, though, of the V-carb. Stratting going to go to the inside. They'll split him. It'll be LAF gaining a spot, as will Stratting, who's going to have to defend here from the cutback against Dichal, but as they run into turn 2, Stratting, comfortable exit there. So again, the pack going to get slided around a little bit. LAF moves up, Stratting moves up, Dichal moves down too, but Dichal with a bit of a run here as they run into turn number 4. Going to have to fall back, though, as nothing really coming of it. And again, the pack all kind of fans out behind him. Boakes receives a 3-second time penalty now for track limits, as Ollie continues to try and start to pull away. But LAF now up into P2. He's, of course, going to be going full steam just to try and keep Ollie Jelly honest at this point. Strakasaur, meanwhile, up into 5th. So he could be a very interesting driver to watch throughout this one, depending on how well those hards hold out. Because again, that longer tire life, and especially switching to the mediums to end the race, could put him in a very good position to come back and take the fight to all those drivers currently around him, especially if he's able to gain positions here in the early phases. LAF, though, going to have to defend here as we run down into turn number 1. Once again, Stratton going to look outside. He's going to switch back to the inside, though. And with DRS advantage, he'll slide his way up into P2. Dichal looking down the inside, though was a little bit late. LAF, I think, just didn't see him coming and wasn't going to give it to him. So Dichal has to hold there. Strakasaur looking fighty as well. So those hards, I think, certainly coming up to temperature at this point. He's right on the gearbox of that V-carb. He's going to have to go defensive here into turn number 5. But now it's Stratting with a potential to chase. And is Stratting potentially the best driver to have leading this pack? I would argue he is, just based on how well we saw him close that gap with Ollie in the closing phases of the sprint race. So potentially Stratting going to be able to hold on to those tires a little bit better. And will LAF and Dichal potentially be willing to work with him, try and pull themselves closer? And how much will Dichal play the team game here, I think, is certainly a question. Of course, you definitely want to be selfish. You want to take that run for points and maximize your point total. Yellow flag in Sector 2, that's for a McLaren. That is Boakes with a mistake. They're under power at what I believe is turn number 10 or 11 there, but he's able to get back underway. But only now 2 seconds is the gap. Stratting going to get a comfortable exit there. That gap going to be at about half a second as we make our way down the pit straight to start lap number 6. Rostamol able to overtake Boakes, who's, I think, really struggling here. Here comes Strakasaur down the inside of Dichal. LAF also looking to make a move down, but it's Strakasaur up into 4th on those hards, sliding his way down the inside of Dichal. Bit of lag there from Formula Jonah, but seemingly no harm, no foul, as he and Debo battle side by side, or appeared to. Yeah, Formula John having a little bit of connection issues, so hopefully those get sorted by some point in this race. Boakes going to dive into the pits for a fresh set of tires, so I think those tires not really working with him. But that gap from Stratting up to Ollie has increased a little bit. But back to LAF, that gap for Stratting is growing. So the Aston Martin showing a lot of pace here early and able to keep up with the V-carb of Ollie. Again, I think the question will be, what will the tire choice? What's the tire strategy here? LAF, meanwhile, I think dumping some battery, trying to keep up with Stratting, as that gap hovers at around 0.6. Of course, it's only Boakes with the time penalty as of right now for track limits, but I'd certainly expect more to come. Bit of a wiggle there from DeChal, so potentially DeChal really starting to struggle with these higher fuel loads. As he now should be under threat from Kendricks, who's going to go down the inside at the final corner. Formula Jonah retires from the session here. So certainly a surprise there. Not sure fully what happened to him, but potentially just an issue on his end. I'll definitely see if I can figure out what happened there. But Formula Jonah is our first retirement, and he is out of the session. So I'm not sure fully what happened there. But Speedy up into 9th now. Jim is sitting in 10th. Of course, that shouldn't bring out a safety car. But we'll tighten up that pack a little bit. Stratting, meanwhile, continue to pull away. Strakasaur actually able to move up. DeChal with a bit of a mistake there. He's fallen all the way to 7th now. So he'll fall to the back of this pack. That puts Strakasaur in 3rd. Big mistake there from Stratting. He's going to go all the way to the right. He's in the gravel, so potentially that's what happened with DeChal there. Here comes Debo as Stratting trying to recover. Luckily, Ghosting continues to hold, but Stratting going to drop all the way into 8th, and now it's Strakasaur leading the chase field. So it's the hard tire runner here on lap number 7 that now has the responsibility of leading this chase pack to go chasing, or to go bolting, I should say, after Oli Jelly. So that gap, 3.5 seconds. LAF, Kendricks, Alcoholic, and DeChal, all in this train. Debo a little bit further back. Stratting, I think now, gonna maybe start to struggle with some traction here. But again, should have a shot at closing that gap. LAF, though, moves back up into P2. Where, of course, he started this race. We'll, of course, take a look here at some of the position changes. Ollie Jelly up 2, Strakasaur up 3, Kendricks up 4, Alcoholic up 5. Jim and Husky, though, up 7 spots each. And, of course, both now fighting 4 points. Viperize, of course, big loser there from the drive-thru. Rossimo and the Griggs battle into turn 1. Boyd Dawson in there as well. Viperize, I think, just at this point, looking to try and get anything. A little bit of a twitch there from LAF. That's going to open the door for Strakasaur to go around the outside as they run now down into turn 7. The Mercedes, though, going to stick it around there. Is he going to get that move done? They're going to remain side by side. And it's a great move there from Strakasaur to gain a position. The Haas there still on the inside. I think a little bit of contact, though it's seemingly no harm done. But Strakasaur, very nice move there to get that Mercedes back out in front. But of course, he won't have DRS advantage here, but is the clean air through this fast Sector 3 worth it? Bit wide there from LAF. So again, flirting with warnings here, and it's a very tight 5-car fight here for second. And this, of course, will continue to work in Ollie Jelly's favor, as the gap now up to 4.2 seconds. DeChal finding his way down the inside. Husky is round and into the wall. He's lost that car. That should bring out the safety car, and it will. So Husky just not getting on the power comfortably. He'll go round. DeChal saw a move at the final corner, and Husky just dropping it there. So that'll be our second retirement and our first safety car of this one. A little bit of struggle there, squabble there between LAF and Strakasaur, but it's going to be very interesting to see what the strategy calls are here. Because I think you can certainly take a set of hard tires to the end. But Jim opting for softs here. Rostamol diving into the pits. Again, mediums would be a very tall order to try and take to the end. So this is going to be great for the likes for most of the field. The big loser here, though, I would have to say, is going to be Strakasaur. Because again, I would argue that especially with the amount of time you would have to make up on a 2-stop at this point in the race. That 23-second loss really just isn't feasible. Again, is it impossible? Certainly not. But it would be a very, very tall order. So it'll be interesting to see what the top decision is for the top 8. Of course, no double teammates in the top 8. Ollie receives a 3-second time penalty for track limit, so that's very big for him. Of course, we were quickly approaching the point in the race where Ollie's tires fell off in the sprint, but the leader will dive into the pits. I assume everybody else will follow. Here comes, yeah, here does come everybody into the pit lane. So all of your top 8 will dive in. Here's Stratting and Debo and Husky will round out everybody diving into the pits. And so that will still likely be your top 8 as we do get into the race. Ollie opting for hards. The big question is going to be, what does Stracco opt? Stracco goes for the mediums here. And again, that will be a very tall order, taking those tires 19 laps. Of course, he will have the time under safety car to hold on to those tires a little bit. Jim is actually going to dive into the pits, so Jim going to stop again. I think, and actually go onto the hards here. So Jim potentially not, I don't think, getting the tires that he wanted. So a big issue there for him, but your top 8 will remain the same. Saya will jump up into 9th. Speedy Gunner will jump up into 10th. But that will be your restart order, and Ollie Jelly pulling up behind the safety car. So everybody's pit stop is now done. And yeah, I was just about to mention, this very much improves Viperize's position, as he was basically out of this race. He was really hoping for that safety car to come out to give him any semblance of a shot here, even at just points with how far back he was. So we'll see how this continues. But yeah, 2 DNFs so far in this feature. But Ollie Jelly will lead the way, but it's Trachosaur out in the effective lead. Safety car is in his lap. Contact, though, between a bunch of drivers, as that was a very late safety car in. Damage on the Haas. LAF, 10-second time penalty. Sayao, 10-second penalty, as everybody had to check up there, because that was a very late safety car in call. LAF is going to retire from the session as well, as that was a very late safety car in call. Ollie Jelly going to continue to hold the field up, as he's still not allowed to get underway. Now will finally go. But yeah, a very late safety car in call. It's going to lead to a bunch of drivers falling down the order. Speedy Gunner gets a great restart. They'll go 3 wide into turn 1. Speedy Gunner and Devo go on either side of Jonah. Or sorry, that was either side of Husky, I believe. In that kick Sauber. Husky going to drop all the way back to 10th. Twitch there from Stratting. He's off the inside. But DeChal up into 4th. Kendrickson down 3rd. Contact between Speedy and Stratting, as Speedy looks to get a move down the inside. They're 2x2 through turn 5. Griggs receives a penalty. They'll remain side by side through turn 5. Stratting runs a little bit wide. He'll hold the inside for turn 6. Devo, again, looking to continue to finish that move on Griggs. And Speedy, I think, will get the better exit there. He'll still hold on to P5. So a bit of chaos there on the early phases of the restart. One sec. But now it's Ollie and Stracco starting to pull away. Kendrick's in 3rd. Yeah, DRS now, of course, re-enabled. Will that matter? Strachosaur, I think, looking to get this move done early. Here he comes, going to take a peek to the inside. He'll go for it on Ollie. Ollie, though, going to hang it around the outside. Not going to get it done, though, as Ollie hangs in there, hold on to this lead. Kendricks remains in 3rd. DeChal looking to chase in 4th. Speedy up into 5th. Stratting continuing to chase, though. Devo's there. Griggs is there. Viperize up into 9th. He's looking to get a move done on Griggs. Little bit of lag there. He'll switch to the inside as they run into turn 4. They'll remain side by side. It's going to be very tight, though. Pretty big contact there between Viperize and Griggs. Griggs able to hold on to the car, though. I think just a little bit of understeer there, but certainly something worth review. Boyd Dawson is round. So he'll have to recover that car. He'll recover in 15th. Yeah, Husky, that one's on you. From everything I could see, he got that move done. Yes, he could have been more patient, but it definitely everything seemed okay about it, and it looked like, again, just from my perspective, that you just kind of dropped it on your own. But we'll continue here, and it's Jelly, Stracco, and Kendricks, your top three. Again, got a very big fight for a bit further back. Stracco this time with DRS advantage. Going to get that move done easily on Ollie. Bit of lag there, but able to hold on to it. Kendricks defending from Dachal here. He's going to have the inside into turn number 2. Kendricks still going to hold on to it. Can the better exit come from Dachal, though? No, I haven't been. Just, it's easier this way to kind of hold on to it. LAF, of course, has left the session. Sayao having to dive into the pits. Yeah, big train now forming up behind Kendricks, all the way back to P8. Viperize, of course, is back into this fight now. So good to see him all the way back up after having to serve that drive-through. As he's certainly got a lot of pace in that car. A little bit wide there from Stratting, so that could potentially open the door for his teammate. Dawson, 3-second time penalty for track limits. So again, those track limits are starting to roll up now. But in the battle for the lead, Debo receives a 3-second time penalty. That is not in the battle for the lead, but just as that pops up. Yeah, 6-car train now behind Kendricks, who of course will not have DRS advantage. Stracasur sets a new fast lap of the race to 124.7. But here comes Dachal, of course, with DRS advantage. Is he going to get the move done, or will Kendricks continue to be the conductor? Dachal going to close up but not be close enough to get anything done. In the battle behind, it's Griggs and Rostamo looking to try and hold on to any sort of penalties, or any sort of points, rather. Stratting receives a 3-second time penalty for track limits. And again, I would definitely expect to see more and more track limits penalties continue to come as these tires continue to wear, because 19 laps is a long time on these tires, especially around a circuit that's as brutal on them as Qatar. So I think that could be, as well, potentially something that the likes of Stratting and Viperize and maybe even Speedy Gunner are comfortable doing, is they're comfortable letting, the likes of Kendricks and Dachal go a little bit more hammer and tongs up there ahead, if it means they can hold on to these tires. Husky Gaming, meanwhile, drops another spot, so he's struggling a little bit. Is there any potential damage on that kick Sauber? Doesn't look like it, but he will receive a 3-second time penalty for track limits. Jim will come across him as well. So Husky Gaming does go around there. So I think, again, just something for review. But Husky's day, of course, didn't get that sprint race to get warmed up, potentially. That just led him to continue to struggle. Ollie will retake the lead, at least on track here on lap number 15. Kendrick's looking to continue to defend. Here comes Dachal looking down the inside. The Aston Martins as well, side by side behind. Dachal moves up into third. It's Viperize down the inside of Stratting, who's going to try to hold it around the outside. They're going to continue to remain side by side behind Speedy Gunner's Red Bull. And it's Team Green going at it. Viperize, of course, now having the inside there. Stratting going to have to run a little bit wide. Will one of them yield by the time they get to turn 4? It'll have to be Stratting. But they'll continue there. Again, penalties throughout most of the grid. 3 seconds for most of the grid. But we'll see how this continues. Again, just trying to keep an eye more on tires there than anything. There's a little look down the inside there from Viperize on Speedy Gunner, but the Red Bull able to defend. Griggs also looking to defend. Boakes receives another 3-second time penalty. So I believe that's up to 9, which will be 14 laps to go next time we cross the line. And you can see that, you can see Debo now over the back of Stratting. Strakasaur as well retakes the lead of this one. So these two at the front working together really nicely. That gap is stretched to almost 7 seconds. Here comes Kendricks now flying past DeChal. So Kendricks now back up into the podium spots. Speedy Gunner able to make a little bit of a breakaway from Viperize as well. Stratting able to close up a little bit to his teammate, but it's still pretty close. Devo, again, remaining at the back in 8th. And Devo, again, going to be somebody to keep an eye on, as any drivers towards the back of these packs going to probably be in some of the better positions, because it means they can take it easier on their tires. They can lift as they go into corners. They can peak for if anybody is starting to make mistakes. And especially, again, it's going to be long stints in this one. So that's going to be interesting to watch. And Strakasaur as well. Going to be interesting to see how he manages his tires as this continues. Again, hopefully we do get the tire wear graphic pop up at some point. If only you could control them. But EA is a small budget company who apparently just can't afford those things. Kendricks, though, looking to continue to run here in 3rd. And again, I think it's just trying to work with this train now and maybe try and start to close up on the cars ahead. But again, the 6-car train remains the same. Debo maybe falling off the back of it a little bit, but maybe just looking for a little bit more clean air, a little bit wide there from Speedy Gunner. Stratting receives another 3-second time penalty for track limits. Viperize, though, looking to get something done on Speedy. There's the V-Carb of DeChal going around the outside. Speedy looking to the inside as well, looking to get 2 in 1 go. He'll have to get it stopped, and DeChal going to have a better run as they make their way into turn 2. But Speedy able to carry more speed through turn 2 as they battle wheel to wheel. Speedy, though, going to have the inside for turn 3. Kendricks, I think, will hold in 5th. Here comes Viperize down the inside, and so there'll be 2x2 in the run down into turn number 4. They remain side by side. Viperize gains a spot. DeChal and Speedy going to remain side by side. DeChal going to have a little bit of a better run, though, and as they get into the braking zone, it's DeChal holding on a 3rd. Here's Viperize looking to sneak a move up the inside of Speedy Gunner now, who's going to still get a really strong exit there, and I think is going to be able to box Viperize out as they make their way into turn number 7 as they look to continue to battle. And I think it's going to be Speedy holding on to it. So Kendrick's losing a couple spots. Here comes Viperize, again, continue looking for a move. He'll back out, though, look for a switchback as they make their way through turn number 10. And then the blast back out. I think finally Speedy has been able to secure that P4. Ollie and Strakasaur are meanwhile continuing to go at it. They're now 8.8 seconds clear of that chase field. DeChal, meanwhile, receives a 3-second time penalty for track limits, so definite loss there for him. So will we see a new leader of this pack here? Saw a couple of overtakes in that last lap, but it was really just DeChal taking over the lead of the chase field. Here comes Viperize down the inside of Speedy Gunner. Kendricks with a run as well. He'll go to the inside of both. They'll go 3 wide through turn 1. Kendrick's going to have to back out. Viperize moves up into P4. Speedy will drop into P5, and the rest of the pack will hold steady here on lap number 18. So again, I think DeChal just trying to pull any sort of a breakaway here, but Viperize still remaining rather close. If you just take a look at those left side tires on Viperize's car, by the way, they are on fire. So Viperize pushing that Aston Martin incredibly hard here. Of course, those hard tires should be able to take it. We'll try and jump on board with a couple of these drivers. As you can see, Strakasaur's at 220 for tire temperature. Ollie Jelly, those left-hand tires, where those? I think those are both 230 degrees. So again, very, very hot left-hand side tires for a number of drivers. And again, it remains a 6-car fight for the final podium's place. Kendricks, I think, definitely in the best position as it stands. Ollie Jelly going to look for a move on Strakasaur, going to hold off, though. The question is, when do Strakasaur's tires start to fall off? Because I imagine it's going to be soon when that changes. Viperize, meanwhile, going to move up into 3rd. DeChal going to fight it, though, around the outside. Viperize going to give him the squeeze. He'll move up and take over P3. And now can look to try and run with it. Griggs and Husky, meanwhile, battling in the background. And they're actually going to have an incident here. They're going to go off. Contact between the Sauber and the Mercedes. I was just mentioning that. It looked like contact at turn 2. They're going to have to go all the way out to the escape road. And when they come out, it's Rostamol back up into the points. So Husky's race just goes from bad to worse here, as he just cannot get clear. We've seen contact with him a couple of times, and I think it's just going to remain more and more frustrating for him. But making our way into Sector 3 now. Viperize now the new leader of this pack. And of course, it will be 10 to go next time we cross the line. Husky Gaming, 3 seconds for track limits. But clean for the chase pack. As the leaders start lap number 20, Ali going to comfortably soar past Strachosaur and take the lead of this one. And now is it time for those hards to come into their own. Has Ollie just held up enough where he can now try and start to pull away from Strachosaur and win this race? Dachal moves up. Speedy Gunner looking to the inside of Viperize. Viperize is going to slam that door shut. So it's only the swap for the lead of this chase group. Though that might not be over. Viperize going to have to defend from Speedy Gunner here. Viperize aggressively defending. So Speedy backs out. So some very tight fighting here. But yeah, I think Ollie's tires, really starting to come in their own now. Look how much that gap has opened up. It's opened up about 4/10 over the course of this lap. And this is going to be the section where that is really going to shine. As that gap now opened up to about 8/10. So what's the call here if you are Strachosaur? Because I think there's a couple of things you have to consider at this point in the race. Do you have a set of softs in the tank that you think are going to be the best decision? And so if that's the case, how long do you wait to put those on? Here comes Strachosaur, meanwhile, lots of space down that back straight. He'll retake the lead. So again, DRS, I think the big advantage here for the Mercedes, but that means those tires are going to continue to absolutely scream out in pain every lap that he continues to stay on them. Dachal, meanwhile, in the chase pack, holds the lead into turn number 1. Rostamol, 10 seconds for speeding in the pit lane, so that's pretty much ended his race, but he was on the mediums, and he thinks those tires are done after about 11 or 12 laps. So we'll see what his choice is here, whether it is a fresh set of mediums for Rostamol. So whether it's the game or Rostamol himself, he does not think a set of softs will go the distance. And again, for the highest tire wear, I would expect about 4 to 5% wear, specifically on that front left tire every single lap. So is that going to be the number for Strachosaur, where he's holding off and just going to try to make up as much time as possible? Because if he pits now, he will be out. It will be out of the points. He'll be about. Actually, no. He should come out right around Husky Gaming if he were to pit exactly right now. And that would almost certainly wouldn't be enough time to pull this race back. So is it going to be a gamble from Strachosaur? He'll continue to stay out this lap, so we'll probably see another lead change. And so they come down the pit straight. Again, lots of front straight line speed in that Mercedes. And Strachosaur able to continue to defend, but not a lot of ERS burn currently on the V-Carb. As Ollie, I think, just, again, comfortable to sit behind. Let Strachosaur continue to work to try and keep him behind. As the chase pack, once again remains the same. Though the gap to the cars in front is coming down with Dachal leading it. Specifically through these tighter portions of circuit. Again, 9.5 seconds. See how much it drops here, 9.4. And that's, again, just to Ollie ahead, who's having to check up for Strachosaur, 9.3. So again, could Strachosaur also decide the outcome of this race? Again, you can't really even see that chase pack in the background. They're still a long ways off. But how much could this battle impact the remainder of this race? Again, these front two have pulled a really comfortable breakaway now. Almost 10 seconds. The gap to the cars behind. And of course, Strachosaur does have the advantage of no time penalties. So is he going to choose to pull the trigger And if so, when does that come? A bit of a twitch there out the final corner. So again, I think Strack will just continue to struggle. Ollie will fly past him as they come down the pit straight and will be comfortable. You can see that chase pack in the background. Gap at 9.4 seconds as they make their way through turn 1. Here comes the Chal and the chase group. Viperize starting to close, going to take a peek to the inside. Speedy going to defend to the inside from Stratting, who's going to look around the outside. He'll, of course, have the inside for turn 2, and then just look to maximize that run out of turn 3. But Speedy going to have to cede position there, as potentially the Red Bull starting to struggle on tires. Viperize as well, able to get a move done on Dechal. They're going to be almost side by side as they run into turn 4, but Viperize gets a great exit there out of turn 3 in order to take P3 away from Dechal. And, of course, Stratting is now going to be the car looking to take on the V-Carb as this continues. But Viperize has had a great recovery drive in this race in order to pull that Aston Martin all the way back up into the points, especially after serving that drive-through. Now, what pace does he have left? Does he have the pace to start to pull away from these cars behind, potentially go and make this one a good one for the Aston Martin outfit? Yellow flag in sector 1, that's for Boakes with who is a bit slow through that corner. Again, Ollie just looking to try to pull away here. Strakasaur continues to stay out. And again, with DRS, that Mercedes going to continue to keep in touch with the V-Carb. He's going to take a look around the outside as Ollie defends the inside, but nothing coming of it. Potential switch back here as, again, Strakasaur just continuing to look for a move. Again, nose to tail here as they make their way. Stratting able to overtake Dechal into turn 1. So I think the Aston Martin's potentially doing some nice teamwork as they now sit 3-4. Again, yellow flag in sector 1. That's Jim out of the race, and that's going to bring out a late race safety car. What happened to Jim? How did he go out of this one? We'll jump on board. How did he go out there? What happened? There had to have been some sort of contact there. That's the only way I could explain Jim being into the wall there. That rate makes this race much more interesting. Works in the favor of Kendricks, absolutely. But this also gives Strakasaur a chance here. Viper is asking used softs or mediums. I think that is definitely an interesting question. And it's going to be, I think if drivers have fresh softs, I'd be shocked if they wouldn't pit at this point in the race for a set of fresh tires. The only issue that I would think about is, especially if you're in a tight pack, is track position worth it? Because, you're going to have a shot at holding drivers off as both our leaders going to dive into the pits. Ollie Jelly receives a 3-second time penalty for track limits of the day under safety car. Stratting doing some nice teamwork, holding the rest of the chase pack back, so he and Viperize have a free choice at strategy. Viperize going to actually stay out. Strakasaur goes for soft. Jelly goes for mediums. But Viperize spins out. Kendricks, who was having a great race, he didn't have a penalty yet. 10 seconds for speeding in the pits, so a big loss from him. Viperize will remain P1. Speedy will stay out. He'll take P2. But Ollie Jelly goes for mediums. Strakasaur, Stratting, Dechal, Kendricks, Devo all have a fresh set of softs to opt for. Boyd Dawson opts to stay out. But yeah, it is a very interesting conundrum that you're in, because if you have a fresh set of mediums, if you have a fresh set of mediums or softs, I'd say that's arguably the best thing you can go to, especially if you're on old tires. But again, track position could be worth the gamble here, because we're going to be under a long safety car, so DRS won't be a factor for the entirety of it. So could that provide something? And again, it depends on the restart largely. Plus, there is an Alpine in the way here, at least temporarily, splitting Viperize and Speedy Gunner. So, of course, that won't matter at the once we ultimately get to the restart. But Sayout could also decide this race. And, of course, we'll have to wait all the way until Boakes and Rostamol rejoin the pack, and they're about 2/3 a lap behind, excuse me. So they're going to have to hustle those cars around to have a shot at gaining points for McLaren or for Haas. But Strakasaur, I think, now in the best position out of anybody. We'll take a look at penalties real quick. 3 seconds for Viperize and Speedy, 6 for Ollie. None for Strakasaur yet, so he held on to those mediums incredibly well, and this late race safety car could be the difference for him. Dawson Griggs, 3 seconds, Stratting 6, Kendrick's 10 after that spit lane speeding, which really hurts his chances, as he was in a great position to jump up in the points order. And then DeChal, Debo with 3, Husky with 6, Boakes with 12, Rasta with 9, and then Seau, of course, is now a lap down. Kendrick's actually going to serve that 10-second time penalty now. So he will come out in P11, but of course without that penalty and with the freshest tires on the grid. So he'll serve that. And again, we're still waiting on Boakes and Rasta to make their way around the circuit. So I think the question is now, will we get 2 or 3 laps of racing in this one? That will be the question, is how many laps of racing do we get? Kendricks, I believe, will still come out ahead of P11. He's going to have to hustle that Alpine out in front of that McLaren, though. He will manage. But it's that pack of 3. That's now a third of a lap behind, so we should get back underway on this lap. Did we get an... Oh, okay, so Seau for some reason just got DSQ'd for ignoring yellow flags. So Viperize, for whatever reason, just kind of messes up there. So Seau is out. So hopefully that AI doesn't screw with anybody. It's very much screwing with the safety car. Viperize is very upset, as that was a part of his strategy. But he still has Speedy Gunner as a buffer, at least. Viperize, I would also just be careful, because we may get a late safety car in message, unless we should see it here. Yeah, Viperize, just be prepared to slow down here, as the last 3 cars are pulling up to the back of this one. Again, I'm not sure how close to being live this commentary is, but safety car is in this lap, so Viperize now has control. So it's going to be very interesting here in the closing stages. And of course, we should get done just before... Yeah, we still have 15 minutes left, so it'll be 3 laps of racing. Lap 27, lap 28, and lap 29. So 3 laps of racing left to go. So only 1 opportunity to open DRS for any of our drivers. So the option is going to be defend like a lion or lose positions. Ollie, Jelly, and Strakasaur, of course, highest up and with a buffer back to the others on fresh tires. Viperize will take off, and it's a good jump for him as well. Speedy Gunner falling off behind him. Ollie Jelly going to start to dump ERS. That gap closing to a quarter of a second. And of course, Ollie with fresh tires going to have a chance to put a dive up the inside at turn 1. He's going to look at it, but he's going to back off. But great run of speed there, as he's going to look now to the outside of Speedy Gunner, Speedy going to defend very heavily. Here comes Ollie around the outside. Strakasaur's there as well. Ollie moves up into P2 here. Strakasaur looking up the inside of Speedy Gunner. Speedy, again, just looking to hold on to as many positions as he can. It's a big gap then back to Dawson in 5th. But it's a good jump. Good there from Stratting. Speedy Gunner remains in 3rd. And again, Viperize, I think at this point, you're just looking to maximize your potential points whatever way possible. Griggs and Stratting side by side, they get connected. Big contact, and it's EA Collision Physics. No, Stratting and Griggs come together, as EA Collision will drop them down to 12th and 13th. Ollie Jelly, meanwhile, retakes the lead. So that's basically 11 drivers now in the running. Strakasaur overtakes Speedy Gunner. He's up into 3rd now, as that'll certainly be one that comes to review. 3 cars within about a 10th of a second as Devo goes around the outside of DeChal, receives a 3-second time penalty. What happened to... actually, that was around the outside of Dawson, I believe. Big scrambles behind, as Dawson continues to try and just hold off drivers and hold on to position. As again, yellow flag in Sector 2 as Stratting is just very much done. DRS is now enabled, of course, but that won't matter. Ollie Jelly making a clean getaway. Here comes Strakasaur looking around the outside of Viperize. Will he get it done as they make their way in the braking zone? Bit of an inside lock there for Strakasaur, but able to get that move done, so he's up into P2. Will that matter for Ollie Jelly? Stratting has officially retired from the session, though. So that's another DNF. But Strakosaur, again, just trying to keep pace with Ollie Jelly. Can Viperize and Speedy Gunner with 2 laps to go. Hold off the charging legs of Dachal, of Debo. Kendricks, of course, is there in the background. Boakes receives another 3-second time penalty. And at this point, it's just trying to hold off as many cars as possible for those still on a hard set. Dachal is close to within a second of Speedy, so he will have DRS advantage. So, of course, it will be very close. We'll go ahead and throw on penalties and the leader graphics so you can see just how close this is. Viperize, again, looking to continue that fight for potential P2. Kendricks certainly in the running to jump up the order, even ahead of the likes of Ollie. So Kendricks still in the running for a podium. As we get ready to go on to the final lap of the race, through the penultimate corner for the final time. The gap behind Ollie Jelly, 1.3 seconds. So Strakosaur looks set to win this race. But how will the pack pan out behind him? Viperize, 3.4 seconds back of the leader as Ollie Jelly sets a new fastest lap of the race. So trying to get as many extra points as he can. But through turn 1, that gap, 1.5 seconds. Strakosaur back to Chal, able to find the inside of Speedy Gunner. So he's able to move up a spot. And this, of course, is for finishing position. Viperize now going to have to try and hold off Dachal as they, of course, try to pull away from Kendricks. Here comes Dachal looking around the outside. Viperize looking to plant that Aston Martin. Here comes Dachal, though. Continue to look for a move. Is he going to look to the inside as they make their way into turn number 6? No, he'll continue to hold off. There's Debo in the background as well. So despite him having an extra 3 seconds of time penalties, he wants an on-track move. We'll go down into turn 7 now. And, of course, up at the front, Strakosaur, 2.1 seconds the gap. So Ollie Jelly just looking to hold on to anything now. So Ollie potentially still on course for a podium. Viperize continuing to defend heavily from Dachal, who's on that much fresher set of tires. Very important to try and get the defense here. Dachal finds the inside. He'll remain side by side with Viperize. There's a slight twitch from Dachal, who has to back out. Viperize looking to hold on. Speedy Gunner receives another 3-second time penalty for track limits, so his battle with Debo is now big. Speedy gets loose again as now they come into the final corner. It's going to be Ollie Jelly crossing the line in first, but it'll be Strakosaur winning the Qatari Grand Prix. Out of the final corner now, it's Viperize and Dachal to the line to finish P3 on track. It'll be Viperize that pulls it out. Speedy Gunner and Debo to the line. Kendrick's going to jump up into the podium places, but it's Speedy edging out Debo. Husky in 8th, Boakes in 9th. Rostamole will cross the line actually in 9th with Boakes in 10th. Then it's Dawson jumping up into 9th after penalties. Griggs will round out the order, but it's Strakosaur, Ollie, Kendricks, Viperize climbing his way all the way back from a drive-through served on lap 2 to finish P4, followed by Dachal, Speedy, Debo, Husky, Dawson, and Rostamole. Well, that was a chaotic last 3 laps to a Qatari Grand Prix. It'll be Husky Gaming winning drive of the day. My vote would be for Viperize and his drive from plumb last. Of course, looking out with 2 safety cars, which I definitely did not expect to see today. But it is Ollie taking the weekend win, but Strakosaur coming away with 25 points. Viperize then in 3rd, tied with Kendricks on 18. Dachal, Speedy Gunner, Stratting, Debo, LAF, Husky, Alcoholic, Void, Dawson, Formula Jonah, and Rostamole are your eventual point scorers. And, of course, here are your race results. It's kind of just scrolling through. Fast lap did end up going to Ollie Jelly, so he walked away with 19 from the feature. But, of course, would have been fine without that. We'll go ahead and throw all the incidents on here as well. But yeah, as you can see, lots and lots of warnings there. But we'll finish scrolling through. And there we go. But hopefully you enjoyed that one, especially if you were involved in the race. Then we'll see you next weekend for Bahrain. See you then.